So we're here today and we're going to be doing some paperweights for teacher appreciation, and we're going to be using these really cool resin molds. And we've got with us today, we've got
Winston and Rachel.
And their mums, Tracy and Allison. Winston, why don't you tell us about some of the things that we've got that we're actually going to be using to make this with?
Okay, so we have a few supplies over here. We have some glitter, some different tool supplies that we're going to be putting in these resin molds. We have the resins over here, the resin where we're going to be mixing it. This is glitter. These are some erasers, paper clips, glitter, and crayons. And we have a pencil sharpener and a thumbtack. Okay, so the first step we gotta do is get the resins and mix them together in this. So
now, obviously this is resin, like, you know, people want to use gloves, they can use gloves, but if you're careful, you know, and you don't splash it around, it's fine. So, how much of each do we mix together?
So, there's resin A and resin B.
Yeah, so one of them's an epoxy and the other one's a hardener. So, what we do here at iCoat is we make these products so they're food safe, they're non-toxic, they don't have any smells, and there's no VOCs in them. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix them together in this mixing bucket, and in there we're going to be able to have the same amount of A and B. And we've already sort of prepared this where in the bottom of the molds we've already got a small amount of resin to stop any of the items floating to the bottom, because the resin's actually quite light, so anything that's in it will actually float in it. So you've got to be careful. Now, again, a little twist to stop the drips, and just pour it straight in there. Don't just let it go in slowly. Don't splash it around. Just be careful with it. And then Winston, you're going to stir it. And if you're actually not using the whole bottle, if you do that little twist, it stops the drips from happening. And then stirring it. Winston, we talked about this earlier today. So when we stir it, what are we looking for in the consistency?
You don't want there to be like, so each resin A and B, they're a little different. So you'll be able to see if they're fully like in together.
Yeah, so if you have parts that are cloudy and parts that are clear, or parts that are a little bit different colours here and there, that's where you're going to see it, that they're not actually mixing together properly. So there's no need to splash it, and you know, there's a bit of a myth out there that you have to mix it for 5 minutes only. You don't have to do that. Resin actually starts to activate pretty quickly once it's actually stirred. So once it's actually stirred and we've actually got it done clear, we're going to put that to one side, and then we're going to start sorting out the different bits and pieces that we actually want to put in each of our resin molds. So Rachel, why don't you start picking through the bits and pieces that you want to actually put in your resin mold?
Okay. I'm doing like pink kind of.
Ah, so you've got a real pink theme on your one?
Yeah, this is like, it says nice with a like flower on it. And now I'm going to put a pink eraser to forget.
But we've got the resin in the bottom, so now what we can actually do is, if anyone wants some glitter, the cool thing to do with the glitter is now put a little bit into the bottom of each of the things, if you want glitter. But you know how glitter comes out, you get a lot of it, so just maybe sprinkle a little bit in your hand and then put some in, because you'll end up with way too much of it if you're not careful. So just so you know, we're actually in the living room of a home. We've just got a table. It's not really a messy game unless, you know, it's fun, but it doesn't have to be messy as long as you take care. We put some paper and taped it to the table, just some parchment paper, and that'll actually protect the epoxy from getting on there. And if anyone does get a little bit of epoxy on their fingers, the neat thing about it is it comes off kind of easy with just a bit of baby lotion, or you can use some alcohol as well, that'll actually take it off. Don't use water, it just makes more of a sticky mess. So yeah, so you can start now designing the way you want to put these things into your mold. Yeah, once you've got the design done for how you're going to put these things in there, the next good step is to think about what you're going to want on the bottom first, because the neat way to be is you'll put something in on the bottom first, and then we'll put a bit of epoxy on it. Then once you've got a bit of epoxy on it, the things that are going to go higher up, you'll actually put in later. So think of the things you want right on the bottom,
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Or if you know, this is like a real free art form. So if you feel like you've already got what you want, just actually, you know, just put them exactly where you want them. Okay, so one thing we're watching as we're doing this is making sure that things aren't sticking to the side of the molds, the silicone molds, because if things touch the side of the silicone mold, obviously the resin won't get around the side of them. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world, but they'll just be touching the edges. So we're just trying to stay away from having that happen. And then we're going to start putting the epoxy into some just solo cups. So you can start pouring it in, and it'll self-level. So it'll actually come out really even once it's done. You don't need to think too much about it, but it's always a neat idea to me. And make sure you leave like maybe a couple of millimeters at the top of it, and don't use all the resin if you're going to add more things in, because obviously it's going to push the resin up. Some people use rubber gloves, other people just, you know, put these things into the epoxy and just poke them down with an old plastic knife.
Oh,
And I'm going to be putting.
So you can actually move things around. Now, before it sets up, you've got the chance to move things around, to push things from one side to another,
Okay.
move things from side to side. Nice.
I think I'm done with mine.
Okay, Winston, how's yours looking?
One more on top.
Okay. So if anyone's got any more epoxy in their things, yeah, that's it, Winston.
There you
It's the
go.
time to pour some more on. And see, so as you see, look, like, this is a really fun, creative thing to do. Plus, you end up making something that's really neat. You know, these things that they make great little teacher gifts, great little paperweights that you can actually, you know, have around, and people will remember that you actually did it when you do things with this. People use this epoxy for everything from, you know, tables to jewelry to pendants to skateboards. You know, they even seal artwork and photographs, you know, golf hole-in-ones, different little canvas ideas. It's a really neat artistic thing to just have some fun with and make things that end up being just really creative.
Can I put a little bit more in? Just a little.
Yeah, no, leave a couple of millimeters at the top. Is that you want? Oh, Rachel, that looks really good.
Let me see yours. Wow. Oh, you put a lot of stuff in yours. Yours looks great. That dripped.
Yeah, it's okay if it drips, right?
When
It's
is
okay.
teacher
Yeah,
appreciation
it's
week? It should be kind of.
Since we just started a class, so we're going to give teacher appreciation.
Yeah.
We're giving
In the beginning.
Starbucks gift cards.
And one of these.
And one of these.
Oh,
Cool.
that's nice.
Cool. Did you push that one down?
Super
It just went in.
Winston, Rachel, was that fun?
Yeah. Yeah.
And would you do it again?
Yes, definitely.
And what teacher's going to get yours?
My music teacher.
Nice. Winston, which one's going to get yours?
I'm probably gonna give it to my science teacher.
Nice. Excellent.
Bye. Bye.